Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
Alrighty.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Put a little cinnamon in my coffee today. Did you ever try that?
Ooh. No, I don't drink coffee, but if I did, I definitely would.
Oh, right. You don't drink.
If I did drink coffee, I can tell you definitively it would be gratuitous. Okay. But I don't.
You never had? Did you ever try it?
I've tried coffee. I mean, I like the taste. I just can't do the caffeine. It just makes me feel a little sick, a little jittery. But, I mean, the taste is good, and I tell you, sure, my mom gets the gratuitous bags, and I can smell the beans from outside the package when it comes in. I'm just like, oh, it smells so good. I want to eat the beans. I honestly might cover some in chocolate or something. I know that's good.
Let me put up our little gratuitous thing. Oh, I don't know where the other one is. Oh yeah, chocolate covered coffee beans. That's delicious, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried with cinnamon. I never tried that before. Pretty good.
You usually have yours pretty black, don't you?
Yeah, I just have it black, but I tried putting just a little straight up cinnamon in there. But yeah, it's good you don't drink coffee. If you don't start it if you don't have to. I remember I used to be the same. Like when I was young, I used to a cup of coffee was like, Jesus, it's like I did a line of Coke. Holy shit.
No, yeah, it makes me feel really good for 20 minutes, and then after that I start to feel really feverish, and I'm just not good. Makes me feel sick after 20, 30 minutes. So and it's just the caffeine, because I made the mistake of having there's this energy drink called a Bang. I made the mistake of drinking that once, and it has I don't know, it's 300 milligrams of caffeine or something ridiculous like that. And it made me literally it made me paranoid. I was that's dangerous amount of caffeine for me at least.
Energy drinks for in college, during exams, they're
so bad.
Every now and then to if I was on no sleep or something. But yeah, they're definitely bad for you. Coffee, I just got used to it over time, for better or worse. I mean, they say it has all these good effects, right? On your, I guess if you don't have too much of it, but supposedly there's a lot of positive effects. All right, man. Anything? Any housekeeping things to bring up?
I don't know. Been kind of a slow week in a way, and there's a lot of news that
are bizarre to the moving along. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're getting the escrow thing looked at, right? That's kind of getting.
Yeah, hopefully.
Made progress with that. Okay. Somebody's auditing that or reviewing it. I guess not really a proper audit, but at least we have somebody starting to review it, right?
Yeah.
And now we got to get Anarchia building the rest of the platform here. Oh, it's tough, man, building these projects, right? It's a lot of moving parts. I'm excited for it. I keep thinking all these things I want to post on there once we have it up. More so things.
Dude, I already have a lot of stuff that
yeah.
I could post on Monero Market, but I'm I should just wait and do it at XMR Bazaar.
I know, because we want to try to get it going on XMR Bazaar, and also the wish list stuff too, things I'll just post to try to get people to start providing.
Yes. To find some eggs to replace the farm fresh. Advertise you want eggs on there.
Yeah, so many little things I feel like I could throw up there. All right, let's move it along. let's get the day going here. Let's get
All right, we got Bawdy bright and early as always. Let's jump into the price report.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer.
What's up, homies?
Yo, Bawdy, good morning.
going up, man. How you doing?
Doing good. You know, you guys are talking about coffee. I read a statistic that said that the all-cause mortality for people that drink coffee is lower than people that don't. So,
Bam, there you go.
Yeah. I think it only works though if you just happen to drink coffee. I don't think you can drink coffee to make your all-cause mortality lower. So,
Oh, it just happens to be that coffee drinkers. Yeah. So, is there any indication as to why?
no, we don't. Maybe because you're more awake and you don't fall asleep at the wheel. I don't know. That's one theory.
Less likely to get hit by a bus crossing the street in the morning, things like that.
Yeah, something like that.
You're a coffee guy, right?
Yeah, yeah. You know, I didn't used to be. It was maybe, I think it's about 5 years, 6 years ago now that I started drinking it. I was drinking like, I don't know, sugary gay mocha latte kind of bullshit.
Oh,
And I was like, what am I doing with my
I feel
life?
like
Just drink your
Starbucks.
coffee straight and black like a man.
yeah.
So, I mean, what, like, do you want to like have a sugary beverage or do you want to like enjoy the taste of coffee? I think it's worthwhile
Dude,
to.
a Starbucks unicorn frappuccino, man. Come on.
It's
Yeah.
also a lot easier to order.
600
Be like,
calories. Yeah.
give me a shot. Good to go. Give me an Americano, right? So anyways,
Yeah, sounds like you had your coffee today, man. You sound perked up today. You sound like you're ready to go.
had a good night last night. Might
Okay.
still be having a good night at the moment.
All right, you're coming off a good night. Not so much. All right, that's good. What'd you do? Anything you could reveal? What'd you do?
Oh, just had a good time.
Okay, sweet. Out and about.
Yeah.
Socializing.
So we've got price. We got to talk about price, and right now I don't have good news for you guys. I honestly don't. This is the Monero chart.
Oh no.
It actually looks okay. The Monero chart looks more okay than any other charts, to be honest. We kind of broke down this big rising, a very long-term rising support line, but I'm not too worried about the Monero price. It's actually organically used for a lot of stuff, so we have like natural baseline support here. But I am kind of worried about the Bitcoin price. So this is the Bitcoin chart, and
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of doom and gloom out there right now.
yeah, I mean, we've talked about this for a while now, as early as maybe March, where we said we're looking to August as the potential for a top here. This market needs to come explore the lower range, right? It needs to come and set some kind of support. It needs to establish probably 20K, right? It's a nice round number. I do think that Bitcoin needs to go back down now at this point. But I mean, it's in the broader context of where Bitcoin's been and where Bitcoin and Monero are going. I don't think it's a big deal. You just got to hodl basically. But if you're a trader right now, opening a short probably wouldn't be that bad of an idea. So as we talk about a lot, I call lines here. These are standard deviations. So the blue lines are the upper standard deviation of price, and then the orange lines are the lower standard deviation. And then the white lines are the moving average. So again, it's arbitrary. Like, do you want to choose the 50-day moving average or the 21-day? It's arbitrary. So you just overlay all of them at the same time. And this is what pops out when you do that. Something I created a couple years ago. And it's kind of beautiful. I really like the way it looks. When I programmed this into TradingView, I was very surprised that this popped out. So anyways, right now, if we're going to talk about wave magic, we're going to talk about standard deviation levels. We're basically below the near-term standard deviation, lower standard deviation. This is not good price action. This is not what you want to see if you're going to try and take a long. You kind of got this weird little like W pattern going on right now. Like, so it's kind of so actually let's rewind here a little bit. We had this W pattern back in December. Sorry, these charts take a little bit of time to move. That's like the only problem with it, because TradingView doesn't quite have the resources. Okay, so what you can see here is this W pattern that we had back in November, December that formed. I got to clear this. It's taking too long. Okay, so we kind of had this W pattern right here that formed. We have something similar happening right now, but it's a much smaller time frame. Right? It's a much smaller period. So you would think, okay, maybe this could go up, and maybe it can, but right now my odds again are on the short side here. I don't think that price is doing anything good right now. I think that this is actually weakness at the moment. You can see this kind of like slowly descending, and at some point it's likely that the bottom's going to fall out on that one. This one right here, you can see that was kind of rising, right? When this W pattern was forming and we were worried about could we go lower, right around this area, we said, no, this is strength. Like things are probably about to bounce. So just know, if you're a trader, to be careful here with Bitcoin. Don't be taking any crazy big longs. The signals aren't entirely, so in terms of the macro, the signals are not entirely congruent at the moment. So we have, for example, the dollar is going up. The dollar index is rising, and it's been rising, which is kind of what we've expected. However, if we look at the reverse repos, that has been dropping, right? So for the past 2 weeks, for the past 2 weeks, this has been falling. Now, the reverse repos, again, are money that's stored overnight with the Fed, and they get minus 0.1% to the federal funds rate for keeping their money there. So when money is leaving the reverse repos, that means it's going somewhere. And right now, I'm not quite entirely certain where this money is going. 1.82 trillion down to so $300 billion have left the reverse repo market, and I'm not quite sure where that's gone. I think I'm kind of like, I have a hesitant commodity cycle theory at the moment. I do think it's possible that money is going into commodities right now. I was really hoping that we would get some kind of clarity in the stock market, in the macro, in the big picture. I was really hoping we'd get some kind of clarity by the end of the week, but we kind of haven't. So this is the NASDAQ right here. I would like to call this a head and shoulders, but we're not quite there. Like you see this horizontal support or resistance. It's hard to say which it is. It's a horizontal line of significance that was kind of after the big blow off top. That was like the place that price came back to, and then fell from there. So that's why this horizontal line exists here. You can see it was actually important there, and it's still kind of important here. So I would like to call this a head and shoulders, but we can't. It's not confirmed. We can't call that a head and shoulders just quite yet. If this thing breaks down next week, that's a pretty clear sign to get out of the market. Like you don't want to be risk on if this thing breaks down. That's like kind of the last confirmation. I was hoping. I mean, I shouldn't hope that people, would lose money and the market would go down, but I was kind of hoping to see some clarity here by the end of the week, and that's not really what happened. So, yeah, we've got money going somewhere. I'm not quite sure where exactly at the moment. So let's take a look at the transactions. Monero transactions has just been flat, but there was something I wanted to cover with the Bitcoin transactions. So let's get rid of the Monero ones. All right. Bitcoin is now doing somewhere between 600, 700, 500,000 transactions. These are ordinals. Half of the transaction volume on Bitcoin is now inscriptions.
Crazy.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Bunch of, what's happening is people are minting a bunch of fucking NFTs that they're going to sell on the next bull market. Like when the shit goes parabolic again, there's going to be a lot of value there. That might actually, I know it's kind of weird to say, but that might actually be something that helps support Bitcoin's price. My theory is, of course, that Ethereum is going to gain market cap parity in the next bull market. I say parity because I'm being a coward. Obviously, the flipping is the more is the more cheeky way to say it. So one thing that I've done some calculations, and Jameson Lopp sent me a transaction size calculator. And so if everyone was actually, like, hypothetically, if everyone was using Taproot, then you could probably stuff about 1 million transactions a day on Bitcoin, like in the most ideal case. So all these ordinals obviously involve Taproot, which is a more efficient way of doing the transaction. But then, of course, they're putting a lot of data into the into the inscription part of that transaction and to the segregated witness part of that transaction. So anyways, maybe it's a slight correction from something that I've said before, which was that Bitcoin could do maybe 300,000, 400,000 transactions per day. It's actually closer to 1 million in the best ideal case.
So trend. I mean, yeah, you always hear the metric of like, you know, Bitcoin can do like whatever 7 to 40 transactions per second or something. So you're saying it's much more given Taproot.
Yeah, like hypothetically, it could be significantly more than 7 transactions per second. Maybe, I don't know, maybe like 14. Personally, I don't like using the transactions per second metric because that's like in my human brain that doesn't compute, right? I'm like, okay, far out, bro. Like, how many transactions per second can we do here? But when I hear transactions per day, that tells me how many people can access the network, right? So right now, when we talk about Bitcoin's doing 500 to 700,000 transactions per day, that's a number that makes more sense to my monkey brain. And obviously per year, it's about 100 million, but I think it can actually go, like, theoretically, the cap could actually be much higher. It could be like 300, about 300 million. So let's see. A buddy of mine recommended that we show the Monero nodes, looking about 27,000 right now, 26,853. So yeah, cool. And I don't think there was much else to talk about here. A chart that I came up with recently is to multiply gold by the dollar index. Normally you divide things, right? You say, okay, well, what's the M2SL, right? What's the M2 money supply? You might divide that to try and get a better look at how something performed relative to inflation. But in this case, what we do is we multiply the dollar index by gold, because when the dollar is rising, you expect that gold is probably going to drop, right? It's anti-correlated. So what we're doing here, the reason we multiply the two together is because it gives you the biggest, broadest picture about how well gold is doing over the long term relative to that anti-correlation. So right now, like, I mean, gold has continued to perform. And honestly, like I say this a lot, I do think that gold is probably the place you want to be. If you're trying to preserve your capital, if you're trying to wait things out till the next bull market, I think you should definitely have a significant allocation into gold. It's probably not going to perform tomorrow, but it's going to keep your value. Like, it's actually a store of value. So I think that I think there's the broad theme that I'm tentatively coming to is that I think we've got a commodity cycle coming up for maybe the next, let's just say 1 to 3 to 4, 6 months, something like that. I think crypto is going to come back. I think that risk on will happen again, but at the moment, it's dubious. Like, the fat lady hasn't sung here. Like, we could still see another higher high in crypto. We could hypothetically still see another higher high in stocks, but for the moment, that's not a risk I want to take. So basically, I'm in Monero, my HODL, and I'm in gold right now. So that would be my certified financial advice bros. Sue me.
Yeah.
If you can find me.
Sue me from Mexico.
Good luck getting my Monero, which I lost in a boating accident.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the price report today.
I'm seeing a lot of gloom and doom in Bitcoin land with regards to the potentially needing to add a tail emission, right? The 21 million cap. I'm seeing that.
Yeah, I feel like
quite a bit right now.
I think the Bitcoin bros right now are struggling through the realization that Lightning is not doing what they thought it would do. So now they have to argue about what's the next soft fork to do a 6-year experiment. I feel like they know this, they intuit this, and so right now, is it CPV? Is it going to be Drivechains? Right? Nobody knows. And honestly, I don't think anything's going to get 410. There's no consensus for them to do anything. And as long as they're arguing about it, there's no chance they're going to fork anything in. Now, if like someone like Jameson Lopp or Adam Back or Blockstream, if these guys came out and said, "Hey, let's go this direction," then everyone would just fall behind them, which is fine. Like, I mean, you need leaders, right?
Sure.
But at the moment, no, like, yeah, there's they're just going to continue arguing on Twitter about what to do. And
Do you think there's any potential movement towards increasing the block size in Bitcoin?
I'm trying to be part of that push, man. I really am. I Bitcoin Hash, like in large part, I agree with the general ideas like network effects, Schelling points, stuff like that. I'd like to see them raise the blocks because Bitcoin could actually be a good thing. Like it just needs to upgrade. And maybe the problem is that they're not going to upgrade until after they see Ethereum flip, and then they're going to feel the sense of urgency that I feel right now. By then it'll be too late. Like they're just like, when you have a product on the market, you have an opportunity. There's a window of opportunity for a new product to capture the network effects, to capture the market. And if it doesn't, then it's, it's just not going to. So it's Ethereum, man. Like that's where everything's going. It makes sense. It's in a broad sense. You can program anything onto it. So and they just have the opportunity to iterate faster with a lot of different projects. And sure, there's a lot of like bullshit scams, but ultimately the things that actually work are going to rise. That cream is going to rise to the top. So, and what's cool though is we've got atomic swaps with Ethereum. So Tornado Cash, that whole saga it's not looking good, right? So the privacy layer, the fungibility layer of Ethereum is going to be Monero. And I don't think Bitcoin is going to be part of that conversation. It is now, right? It sounds silly to say that at the moment, but going into the future, it's going to be Monero and Ethereum.
What role do you see Bitcoin playing in the future?
Nostalgia.
Pet rock.
That's crazy that almost half of Bitcoin transactions are just ordinals. That's like...
Yeah, it seems
like a lot of people making a lot of money on those ordinals.
That's some bloat, man, especially at a chain that can't handle it.
But are there a lot of people that are excited about other than the ordinals being great for, trying to make money off of some stupid NFT? Are there a lot of people excited about the fact that it is increasing usage of Bitcoin, or there's more concern that it's just taking up block space? What is kind of
I think it's half and half right now. So the reality is that you can do some pretty cool stuff
should be
with
excitement,
inscriptions,
right? Because it's giving miners more, right? Potentially more incentive to mine, right? Potentially solving that problem of the.
You know what? That's a good point. Yeah, like the way that ordinals are playing out might actually prolong the the problem that they have, right?
Yeah, it seems like the solution.
I feel like eventually it's going to die out more though, because most of the use that I've seen for it is just to like sell and try to make money off of these NFTs and playing the market with them. So it's not like real utility.
I'm kind of worried, honestly, about the hash power at the moment. So miners all of them are mining at a loss at this moment, and they need they're doing it under the expectation that price will rise, but then the halvening is going to hit next year, so they're going to take a 2x hit on their profits. And they're already unprofitable. So what happens if Bitcoin doesn't make a significant higher high? Like I have a very, very, very tentative thesis right now that Bitcoin could double top at 70K. That's probably what's going to happen. It's going to double top and then take some time to wash out and establish a higher floor. Maybe let's just say 50K, right? But that's a years long kind of event. So what happens to all that hash power that's currently unprofitable, that's going to be half as profitable starting next year? Maybe the NFTs, the ordinals can save them, right? Maybe that could help them, but I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. It's a problem. I think it's a problem.
Yeah, and I feel like it's something a lot of people are talking about right now in Bitcoin land. People are finally waking up to it. I feel we've been talking about it forever here in Monero, right? Like dynamic block sizes, tail emission.
I mean, there's a lot of research out there. Ethereum implemented, it was an EIP something with some number 1500 something. Ethereum implemented some kind of protection against long-term risk in terms of like having enough reward for the miners. Like they implemented some kind of protocol. I don't really understand it, but they specifically addressed it, and Bitcoin still hasn't addressed it. So I don't think that these guys are dumb. Like I don't think they would have done that unless it might really truly be a concern. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
All right. Yeah, I feel like we'll be touching upon this again later in the show because of some of the news topics. Bawdy,
Cool.
thanks so much, man. Stick around, please, if you can.
Thank you. Love
Yeah,
you guys.
Bawdy, great financial advice as always.
All right.
No dev report today.
Oh, no dev report.
Unfortunately, Dgoon
All
is gone. Do you want to go ahead and jump into guest segment?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right.
Is he?
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
Hey man. Hey man. Whoa, that was loud. Whoa, that was loud. Hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. Is my mic super loud? Mic super loud?
Oh, there's an echo going on.
Yeah, willpower. We're getting it. Let's mute him for a sec. Yeah, it's his thing. Willpower, if you could, I don't know, change something up over there with your sound. We're getting an echo. Let's try it again. All right. Hello. Nope. Still getting it. Right, Tux, you getting it too?
Yeah, I did hear it a second ago.
Yeah, hold on.
It's like weirdly delayed.
I got him on mute. Because it's really annoying. So here. All right. He's got his headphones in. You got headphones in?
That's super weird.
Shall we try again? I have a feeling it's still gonna be.
I mean, maybe you can just unmute when you talk. That's what I usually do.
Jesus. Willpower, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
Oh, you know what? I bet his mic is
All right. I'm pausing that.
Is the output of his of the sound coming from his computer.
All right. Let's Shall we move on to viewers on stage or news? Why don't we do news while he tries to fix it?
Okay. All right.
I mean, I know we like to pull people up from the stage for the news. Let's do viewers on stage. Doing things a little differently today. And we'll get anybody that wants to come up. Is anybody around? Yeah, we got Alaska.
We got a few people.
Yeah, and then we'll just go through the news.
All right.
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
All right. Anybody that wants to jump up, speak their mind, we'll go through the news. You can comment on it. I see there's a decent amount of people in the spaces. Guys, mute your mic when you join. I see there's a bunch of people in the spaces. You can jump on the StreamYard if you guys want to join us here to chime in.
The TLDR for Bawdy's price report is by Monero.
As always.
Make sure you're holding plenty of stable coins. That's for sure. Just the one, though. Just the Monero one.
Yes, anybody in the spaces that wants to jump up and participate, just join the StreamYard. Find the link. We tweet it out.
Because of the fact that you can't use Monero as collateral, at least from what I've seen, what I do is I use Polygon so that I can borrow dollars if need be. But I hold my main stuff in Monero.
And then what are you using Polygon for?
I had never thought of that before. That's a really good idea.
I'm using Polygon, Matic, and Aave on Ethereum, on the Ethereum layer 2 Polygon chain to borrow dollars with. So like if I need to buy something for the house or something like that, I can just borrow dollars off of Aave and then trade it into Monero using like Trocador, and then sell it on local Monero and get cash in my bank account to, buy something for the house, like a chainsaw or something like that.
Chainsaw, interesting.
Well, we just had that hurricane that knocked down all kinds of tree limbs and stuff. So we got to get a chainsaw.
Chainsaw with Monero. I don't know.
Dude, that's next level. I want to be able to do that. Find a chainsaw with Monero.
There are some serious financial wizards in our community, man.
Hey, if KK Mobile comes back, I could just go to Home Depot and buy one right in there.
Well, you can use Coinsbee or coin cards. You can get Monero and then use Coinsbee or coin cards to get a Home Depot gift card and do that. We're actually gonna buy some insulation for the house here in a couple months, because we've actually got to put up some insulation, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Is we're going to use Monero to buy a Home Depot gift card and then buy the insulation with that.
Yo, that's pretty
I
sweet.
suggest you, if once we get XMR Bazaar up, man, it's like goal there being you'd be able to say, here's what I'm working on, here's what I need. Anybody want to supply it? Help me out with it. That's what I'm looking forward to, seeing how many people I can get to bite at things like that.
I need 20 rolls of insulation.
Yeah, you never know, man. You might find some takers on things like that.
Depends where you live, but we actually do some work where we round up cardboard bales from grocery stores and all kinds of other places, and then we shred them and then add an organic like waterproofing and termite proofing layer, and then it becomes insulation that you can like blow into your attic or whatever. And then as far as like rolls of insulation, you can do like shredded puffed rubber from like tires and stuff. All you need is basically a tire shredder.
Nice. You guys do that?
Yeah, we do that up here a lot, actually. Probably like 4 or 5 trailers a week, like full 53-foot trailers of just blowable insulation. Another thing that I've been trying to do, but government, is hempcrete would be an absolute godsend in a place like Alaska because of the waterproofing and the permeability of it. And then the thermal transfer cycle is exactly a half a day at the 14-inch thickness. So basically you could set up a transfer cycle that is like 1-to-1 with the day-night cycle. So basically the heat of the day makes it into the building at night and vice versa. It would be a perfect ratio of thermal transfer. And that would be really interesting in a place like Alaska.
Oh, that's useful.
Using hempcrete?
Yeah, hempcrete is absolutely mind-blowing. If you've never looked at it before, it would be an unbelievably effective replacement for drywall in like 95% of the use cases for drywall. And it's easier to repair. Gypsum mines, if you've never been to a gypsum mine, you don't want to go, because if you value your lungs, you should never go to a gypsum mine. But like they are pretty nasty, ecologically speaking. But hempcrete, on the other hand, can actually restore soils, and there's no mining involved, right? Because even whatever you're using as the cement, as the hardening agent, a lot of the time you can get that either off the surface or as a waste product from other mining operations that are already happening. Yeah, hempcrete is pretty amazing stuff. And I think it's just kind of like the way that building materials are currently done. Everything is kind of designed to work with everything else, is one of the reasons why it hasn't already taken over the drywall. The other thing is most places have in their fire codes rules for using drywall, and they haven't made exceptions for hempcrete. Now I'm of the opinion do it anyway, and they can go fuck themselves. But like that's me. Contractors tend to be a little bit more afraid of the taskmasters.
So we need some hempcrete being sold on XM Bazaar and some contractors willing to work with hempcrete.
Exactly. And what you could do is you could sell the hemp in bundles, and you wrap them in plastic the same way you would like coconut core or something. You ship it to the location, and then they can buy like whatever hardening agent they want to use locally, because it's so cheap to buy locally wherever it already is. And then, I mean, the mix ratios are widely available on the internet. And then any contractor that's willing to use it, it's honestly, it's really easy to use. I can't do drywall for shit because I'm a terrible artist. So I can cut them like perfectly straight, but I can never like make that smooth look to them, you know, because it's like takes an artist. But hempcrete, it's like just splatting mud cakes onto stuff, and it just works. It's awesome.
Yo, Willpower's in the backstage again. Let's see if we can get him up.
Let's get him up. Willpower, do we have you?
Yo, 1, 2. Am I better now?
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, there you go. All right. We worked through it. We worked with it. We got it going.
Yeah. Thanks for your patience.
Of course. How's it going, man? What's going on?
Oh, man. I'm alive. I'm feeling good. I'm out in Egypt right now. I'm putting out music, focusing on a lot of things, art, messages, self. So, yeah, these times are really exciting, and I think we're co-creating some amazing stuff here on Earth right now.
You got anything Monero related coming down the pipe?
So on this new album I have now, I mention Monero on a few tracks, and I talk about the importance of privacy coins. And so yeah, on the album, basically it's a way, using music as a way to share the message, share the information. And so that's what I got going on right now.
Nice, man. What was the song that you did that what was it called, the title that we all love?
Oh yeah, Pay Me in Monero.
Pay Me in Monero.
That song's fire.
Yep. Tux, can you find it?
Man.
Yeah, you want me to play it real quick?
Yeah, let's play it
right,
real quick.
let me
For those
see.
who don't know Willpower, like, yeah, come on. People gotta understand what's going on here. Nice.
Pay me in Monero, on the low with my dinero, cause they coming for the people. Stand up like a hero, wanna take our privacy, control our currencies, take away our humanity, and tell you it's for your safety. The herd does it willingly, they might be smart but cannot see. Everyone wants to be free when you sell your soul and integrity. Global elite bankers are the top gangsters, wanna trace our crypto, so pay me in Monero.
Pay me in Monero. I'll pay you in Monero. PNIXMR. Pay me in Monero. I'll pay you in Monero. PNIXMR.
It's fire.
Thanks.
How many views did you get? Yeah, did that end up getting a lot of hits?
Not that much. I think around 6K.
Shit, we gotta get the spread it, people. Get it out there.
Yeah, spread it, share it.
So when's this new album coming out?
It just did. It's out now.
Oh shit. Okay. Is there anything we can hear from that? Is there anything we can play?
Yeah, actually.
That's the most amazing, right? You want me to play that one? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, cool.
Pull it up.
Let's do it.
are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. Rise up, stand up. If you live with purpose, hands up. It's a soul mission to free all men and women, but only if they want to. They seem to prefer the matrix, materialism, fakeness, scientism, medical blunder. Inject the world through propaganda to convince them war against Russia. It's so easy to push an agenda. Depopulation of generations, violation of the body, sexualize everybody. Spray the sky with chemtrails, geoengineer climate, make it hell. Call it climate change to take away all freedoms that remain. I lost many friends controlled by the fake stream political trends. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. Imagine people waking up, the illusions of society breaking up. They see it was a plot to inject everyone with a shot. They now see that scientism is the new world order religion. They now see that education is actually indoctrination. They see slavery never ended, it just became subconscious and submersive. They see climate change is engineered, yup, to keep us in fear. We see through the lies, reject the politicians and their fake smiles. They're all controlled puppets, their evil masters now reveal the public. AI, digital slavery, opportunity to recreate humanity. Yeah, it's all a dream. I kept my hopes up, thanks to memes. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. I see the birth of a new age. It's beautiful, yeah, we turn the page. The new beings are misunderstood, but proliferate like shrooms on wood. We combine like never before. What matters is that our intention is pure. Not everyone will be accepting you, even if there's rejection. We know who we are. We are shining stars, alchemists of invisible forces. Live from our heart, cause that's where the source is. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. We are in the most amazing times that I have seen. I am so inspired by the creativity that I see. Willpower music.
All right. Awesome.
The
That was
soul
Most
of Monero.
Amazing by Willpower.
Where did you get
Thank you,
these
man.
amazing wardrobes?
Oh man, I made them.
Yeah, there you go. You got to start selling those, man.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
wife likes to make clothes too, and I was just like, they have to be made by this man.
yeah, for sure. I made them. Actually, I sold a couple of those LED mask light faces in Monero. So,
Dude, you got to
For
come
sure,
to
man.
the next Monerotopia. I know you were at MoneroCon, which was awesome. It was awesome running into you there. That
yeah,
was,
man, that was fun.
you, had a
Yeah,
good, you had a good time at MoneroCon?
yeah, man, it was amazing to see the community, and it was very lively, and yeah, very inspiring too. Yeah, just seeing it like, because so many times we'll be on our screen, so to connect in the physical form is empowering. It's good.
Yeah, we're thinking maybe Buenos Aires for the next Monerotopia would be amazing to have you down there. Come down,
Yeah, that'd be dope.
sell
Yeah,
some of your swag, maybe perform if you can. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
So what do you think, man? I mean, I listened to that song. I hear, you know, doom and gloom in one respect, right? You're talking about,
Right.
you know, we're moving towards a dystopia. They're gaining
Right.
power over us, but ultimately it sounds like you're an optimist, given human creativity, things like Monero.
Exactly.
Is that where you fall? How do you see things playing out?
That's exactly where I fall. I see that, you know, it's like the saying, it was the best of times and the worst of times all at once. And so it's like so many things are happening simultaneously. You can focus on one thing only, and that's your reality. You can focus on another thing, and that's your reality. And I try to find the balance and be an alchemist, and seeing things that look doom and gloom, and wanted to put that message out there so that it's also paid attention to, because it's like, if we don't pay attention to certain things, it's like sweeping them under the rug, and that doesn't do any good. And so also for the sense that maybe, oh my God, there's no hope, what can we do? That's when it's about human creativity. And I feel that whenever we're challenged is when the motors get activated. And that's when you see human creativity, ingenuity. And Monero is a perfect example of people who saw the future before it was here. And the future of Monero, I feel, is so ahead of its time, which is why, you know, as time goes by, it's going to pick more and more steam as things get maybe more dystopian, if they do. And so I think Monero is a great example of human creativity in terms of how do we keep our freedoms, that the things that have kept us human until now, for our lifetimes, for many of us. And we're seeing the change. And the beauty of having been here for a certain amount of time is that you can see the shift. And if you're born in a certain era, you don't see what came before. So your reality is based on what you've experienced. And with each generation, I'm noticing that there's a code to crack, which is why I'm in Egypt right now looking at ancient civilizations and what's left of them, because I'm trying to learn something that's beyond my time frame on Earth. But just to answer the question quickly, I think this whole community and other communities are going to take whatever challenges that come, and the human spirit, I feel, is going to shine through whatever.
All right. What are you learning over there in Egypt? Anything specific?
You know, it's kind of hard to be specific, but I'm reading a lot of things based on my own, I would say, experience, because I've been really into ancient civilizations since like 2017. and I like to look at things and get my own interpretation. And I'm reading a lot of things that make a lot of sense that have to do with the spirit, how in ancient Egypt or Kemet, they were really communing with spirit and the spirit realm as a way to live. And even looking at the tombs of the pharaohs, how everything is about connecting the afterlife with the physical world. So it's like connecting the spirit world and the physical world. And that's something I'm seeing a lot in what they were doing, even in the hieroglyphs, and how not only did they document their life, but also I think they were used to make as a bridge and also to show what looks to me like ceremonies or rituals. So a lot of those things are not really part of mainstream culture and society. When you talk about the spirit, people may ask, well, you can't prove that it exists, right? Because a lot of us are in a scientific, materialistic kind of understanding of life. But I feel like there's a lot going on in the spiritual realms that connect us to who we are beyond the physical realm. And so it's really interesting to see how they were living their life, and what I'm picking up by just walking through these temples. It's pretty crazy.
What's your take on all the latest alien stuff? What are your thoughts? All these revelations, from officials in the government. Well,
I like to stay focused on things that I can touch, because I don't want to get distracted by intangibles too much that feel to me like they could be distractions. So I try to stay focused on the things that I can do myself every day in my life. And so I like to deal with things like that, because things that I can directly impact, or things that I can do with my hands, with my mind, with my voice. I personally haven't experienced what they're talking about, so I can't really speak on it. But yeah, a lot of things are said all over the place these days. So I feel like it's about staying grounded and connecting with your community, where you can help each other and co-create something.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Obviously, you're into Monero. You see Monero as part of the solution, or what allows us to thwart a dystopia. What are some of the other things you think about that we need to do? I think you just kind of hinted at it there, but what are things people need to be doing, actions people need to be taking, tools people need to be using to kind of get us moving in the right direction?
Yeah, I think communication is number one. I think there's a lot of, each mind has an ego, and each ego thinks he's or she's right. And so because of that, there's a lot of back and forth and disagreements. And for me, what I'm noticing, what I'm learning, is to allow tolerance and to allow others who have different perspectives and views and beliefs, etc., allow space for them to be who they are, and not kind of force the way that I view the world onto them, because that creates that doesn't help anything. And so at the same time, express myself freely. So there's like a balance I'm seeking in between the two, because when we work in communities, there's so many different people with different backgrounds, and things can get lost in translation in so many ways when all parties may have positive intentions. And so for me, it's about communication, clarity, and allowing others to be them, as long as everything is in a positive manner. And then connecting with friends, anyone who sees things the way we do, that's great. But then there's also those who don't see the things that I or you or anyone sees, but there are other aspects in which we may see things the same way. So we're all multifaceted. So it's like taking a polyhedra that has, let's say, 20 faces, and each face is a side of who we are. And on the 3 faces, you may connect with someone here. On 2 other faces, you connect with someone there. So it's like, it's about realizing that we're not these one-dimensional people where, okay, we all agree on the same thing. It's like we agree on some things, we don't agree on others, and that's what creates diversity. And this diversity can either break or make, depending on how it's utilized. And so, and also I think it's not staying focused on the news all the time where it can bring your energy down. You gotta also balance it with things that bring you up and bring your enthusiasm and your happiness to be alive, so you can find a balance and have some fun out here, because that's fun, I think, is overlooked. It's one of the most important things for us to do in our daily lives, is to have fun, because obviously we're going to be faced with whatever's here.
Yeah. Words to live by, man. Life is so short, so short. I think about it, it's scary, but I think about it all the time now. It's
yeah.
Good.
I have a question for the gentleman, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course, man.
So in this particular community, a lot of people get like overwhelmed and even sort of negative about the reality that we're facing. And I thought you might be the perfect person to offer some advice as to how people can manage their negative feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One thing that works a lot for me is to get off sources of information for, like, let's say you do that for 3 days in a row. For 3 days, don't look at any news for like 3 days.
Ain't that the truth?
Do that and see what happens. All of a sudden, you start to become alive inside. You start to get into things. You start to think about creative or constructive things you can be doing, and you start to put it into action. And then because you're going to see what's happening, because it's going to hit you left and right. But don't go searching for it, and don't give it too much energy if it brings you down energetically and it puts you into a state where you're almost like immobile. You can't move because you're so much in shock for what's going on, and you're like, oh my God, it's the end. You want to stay moving. Your energy needs to keep flowing, and your heart needs to keep pumping. And for that, it only happens if you see a future in which you exist, in a future in which you're thriving. And if you don't see that, then it's going to take your energy in the present. So you need to cut off any source that is taking away, that's feeding that negative or the fear or whatever it is, and do that for 3 days in a row. And then you need to start. What I do is I manage, what I look at, etc., and then focus on just yourself, your life, the people around you. And for me, it's about finding a balance, just like the yin and the yang, or the alchemist. It's like finding the balance, and then with a bit of different ingredients, you make a cocktail, you make a brew, and then you serve that to the world.
I have another question, if you don't mind. I just really think that it'd be interesting to hear. We've had, just listening to the show, guest after guest after guest, really honing in on personal health and the consequences on the mind. It seems like a never-ending theme. Is there any kind of like any things that have worked for you or that have been interesting to you that maybe we haven't heard about? Obviously, like diet and exercise and whatever, that stuff aside, is there anything that you've done for mental and physical health that you had never heard of before, that we may never have heard of before?
Let me see. Maybe this one. Maybe I've tried this, where I'm faced with a set of choices or options, and instead of thinking about which one I should go with, I go with the one that that makes me feel good. So I don't even use my rational mind to make decisions. I listen to the body and I go with what the body feels like. Hell yeah. Like, let's say you got to do something and then all of a sudden your body's like, oh, damn. And in your mind, you procrastinate and you're like, no, I don't want to do this. Don't do it. Even if it's like the most important thing, you have to do it. Don't do it.
I like this. I like this.
Go with what feels good, even if it's the last thing you're supposed to be doing. Even if people are like, you should not be doing this. You're irresponsible. You're immature. But what you're actually doing is you're feeling your soul. You're feeling what makes you alive. So even if it makes no sense to the world we live in, because the world is based on a rationality that's designed inside of a construct, break out the construct, break out the box, and tap to I would say just to the field of potentiality. And you just, but for that, you need to break out the mind. Once you break out the mind, it's like everything opens up. And a lot of times that puts you in a state of fear because you're like, damn, what am I going to do now? What if this happens? What if that happens? And that's the mind. So you got to break out of that and go with what feels good and just deal with what comes after that.
I feel like I used to live more like that. Got to bring it back. You got to be careful though, right? You don't want to be then interpreted as being, selfish, right? Because you're among others. It's how do you balance that? How do you balance that mentality without coming across as selfish to society and those around you that you love when your choices may not align with what's expected of you?
Well, when your well-being is in question, it doesn't matter what others think of you, because at that point, selfish becomes what's necessary. So how do you show up for others if you're not balanced to show up for your own self? It's just like on the plane, you put the mask on your face before you put it on the child. And it's kind of like that, I feel like, even if you're judged and, whatever, you got to do what's best to focus in. And if you can find a way to do that, without too much collateral damage, that's great. But at the end of the day, if we don't do that for ourselves, then we're not gonna be strong for what we got to do. I don't think. So sometimes we gotta be sharp and straight to it. And it doesn't matter if others don't understand us. Not everyone is gonna get us, no matter what we do.
Do you consider yourself an anarchist? Like what's your take on the state and government and opting out versus going along? How do you view those things?
Yeah, there seems to be a big separation, a big divide that's happening. First of all, I feel like human beings should be free. I don't feel like we should be the property of any body. So based on that, anyone that violates our freedom or your ability to raise your child or to just be free, living your life, well, I feel that's a hindrance to who we are. And unfortunately, there's a lot of these authorities are just not fit to be authorities. And so this is why it's just not going to work, because the decisions that are being made are illogical. The decisions for humanity as a whole by people that, like, who are they anyways? Who are they to make these decisions? And why is there so much untrustworthiness? And yeah, I mean, once we look at what's going on, depending on who you are, some people will see that we should not be led or misled, and others will say, no, this is what I want. And I think the world is going to go in two different directions. But I tend to be more like a snake, because I don't think it's that black and white. And we're going to have to to come together somehow, but it's not going to be easy because everyone's different and everyone's belief is different. So yeah, I feel like human beings should be free, but for that to happen, we really need to evolve, and I don't see a solution at the moment. It's not an easy thing. I have never seen a system that works, where it works for everyone. It works for a few, where it works for some. And then we're seeing a lot that are suffering massively. I know for myself, it hasn't been easy in the systems that exist in the world and the things that are prioritized over others, the people that are prioritized based on the type of intelligence they have or how they contribute to the system. And so I think the present challenges are creating the greatest opportunity for us to create the kind of world we want to be in. And I think that's what's happening. We're actually doing it right now. And those who like to be governed to the point where they can't even express their free thoughts, they're going to go down that path. And those who want to be free to express themselves and to talk about the things that they see as not good, that we're going to create something different. And I think there's going to be bridges between the worlds, and there's going to be a process. And yeah, it's looking very challenging, but also there's so many great things being formed, whether it's Monero, decentralized, whatever. Many technologies will be created, many new ways of coming together, open source ways of building homes, of building anything. And I don't think technology is bad. We're using it right now, and it's about how you use it and the intention you have. Because even if something is made for something that one considers bad, you can flip it and use it for something good. It's all about, again, the creative mind. And so it's not about giving our power away to someone external. It's about recognizing who we are and communicating and helping each other. And that's what I think. But yeah, it's a big question. And it's hard to have an answer because so many forces are at play in so many different directions. But I think we're doing it step by step, and each person is part of the puzzle, and the puzzle's huge. So each one of us is, pretty important to the whole. So everything we do every day impacts the whole, and that's why I'm doing music, because even though it's actually not the main thing I'm focusing on, I decided to actually do this project because I felt like I couldn't just sit back and just watch the world go in a direction without expressing myself. So yeah, the more of us express ourselves and hopefully do it in a way that's constructive, because I think that's also important, to be constructive, but to also be human. So we're always going to express our feelings and emotions. So yeah, it's a big adventure being here on Earth every day. Like I'm tripping balls on everything I see every day. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like, this is crazy. Yo, this is amazing. Like every day, all day. Like I don't need any substances. I'm literally tripping out all day, every day.
I love it.
I have another question, if you don't mind, Doug.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Okay, so I and most of the people listening are very much engineering-minded people, and not all of us are very artistic people. But I had been advocating for a really long time that art was what was going to push Monero into the wider world and connect people and so on. And one of the things that I've said forever is people should be supporting artists and their ability to create in any way they can. So I had said, financially, or, just offering them a house or a place to crash when they're traveling and doing their thing or whatever. But are there any things that people like myself could do that we may not be aware of that would help, other than the normal list, like, getting the art into the hands of people who haven't heard it or seen it before, or, outside of just financial or housing or whatever? What are things that we might not know we could be doing to help creative people do their thing?
Love it. Good question.
I think it's to incorporate us in the things that you're doing, in the events that you're having. And it could be for many different things. You know, someone who's good with visual art could be a good person to ask maybe about UI, UX, or about how you're presenting whatever you're presenting on your website and what the experience is like. Or someone that's good with working with in spaces and lights, how they can be the one that design the space, the stage that people are going to be on. And looking at artists, yeah, to be part of whatever part that people are doing. There's a role and there's a place there for an artist, because a lot of time the mind of the artist like is floating in like another galaxy, and it can take something and communicate it with the world in a way that's maybe intuitive or very creative. And so I think, yeah, to involve, even to ask for, I don't know, ideas on this, opinions on this and that, and then maybe to bring on board for certain projects where the creative mind will be able to come up with things that are maybe unexpected. So, yeah, I think every aspect, especially when you work with technology, now there's such a strong community of artists working with technology who use technology, like myself, as a medium and as a way to, as a form of expression. I think it can be used in so many different ways amongst the work that we're doing every day. So that's what comes to mind.
Beautiful, man. Can you stick around a little bit? We'll jump to the news.
Yeah.
We can, you know, if you want to chime in on anything with regards to the news, and then we can continue the conversation a little bit.
Hey, can you hear me?
Cool.
Yeah, Tux, we got you.
We can hear
Good.
you.
I accidentally bumped the back button on my mouse. I had to rejoin the studio. Did you say news?
Yeah, let's do the news.
Boy, do we have news. All right, let's jump into it.
And now for our weekly news segment.
Unfortunately, Tony could not make it. So
We got to add a little penguin in there too, man. We got.
yeah, I guess he's in a different time zone. So it's also harder for him to make this time. But go and share my screen.
Let's do it.
Can find the right window.
Anybody else that wants to jump up? I don't know. Are there other people hanging out over here?
Yeah, if you're in the backstage and you want to come on and you aren't, just mention so in the private chat.
Right.
Yeah. So first, I didn't look over any of these, so these are all sent by Tony. So first one, we've got House Committee will reopen discussions on digital dollar in September 4th hearing. Following an August recess, members of the House Financial Services Committee will gather for a digital dollar dilemma hearing on September 14th. Uh-oh, sounds like CBDC. The U.S. House Financial Services Subcommittee on Digital Assets, Financial Technology, and Inclusion, that's weird, will be holding a hearing discussing central bank digital currencies for the first time in months. So they're going to start talking about it again. I was honestly expecting it to come a little bit sooner. I guess it's lagging behind slightly, but you know, it's still coming, of course.
Is that right? So
Remember during the 2008 collapse when they were like, all right, we're going to vote on a bailout. And then they voted no. And they're like, okay, everybody's going to vote again until you get the right answer. It's the same thing. Everybody rejects the CBDC. So like, oh, you just need to keep voting until we get the answer that we want. And, you know, I know where your kids go to school or whatever.
In a September 7th announcement, Republican lawmakers on the committee said they plan to hold a hearing discussing the implications of releasing a CBDC as well as private sector alternatives. The digital dollar dilemma discussion will be held on September 14th, roughly 2 weeks before the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler will likely testify before the full committee.
Gary Gensler, the guy that was the guy who orchestrated the bank bailouts and then immediately became a government official and then immediately went and worked at the banks that got the free money and
It
then
always
went
happens
back
like
to the
that. It's either
Revolving
government
door.
high-end position, then immediately to the company, in the private sector that they did, regulations for or against, or it's the opposite. It's like, it's how so many of these people are.
Where do you guys see this going? I mean, there seems to be a lot of political will in the opposite direction against CBDCs, right? You have like these presidential candidates that have declared that they're against it. You have states taking action
Governors,
saying they're against it. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's got a lot of popularity.
I don't even know if FedNow is being used because that's technically out.
I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think it's not a very popular thing, but we all know that the president and the governors and everybody talk one way and then our puppet strings can pull the other way. So they're going to do whatever they want and we have no say about it anyway.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is that even if like, we're not going to actively try to use FedNow or CBDC, right? Like if we see that, we're not going to use it, but that's why they're going to integrate it into things that people already use. Like Visa will probably integrate stuff like that into their systems, and banks like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, they'll probably integrate FedNow into all that stuff. So it's
Yeah,
like,
we'll see. I do think there's powerful people on the other side, though, right? There's those that want the CBDCs, the Fed, but then there's also those that are going to be negatively affected by it that are quite powerful as well, that are pushing in the other direction. So we shall see.
The truth is, we just need to keep it from being a thing long enough for our own systems to be firmly rooted as an alternative. Because if you can draw the comparison, if you can point out like, hey, we have stuff that's free that doesn't require, slave tactics, and it already works, it creates even more resistance.
we've got relating on the CBDC topic, digital euro can ward off many private payment service ills from ECB official. Private payment services gain a monopoly with no benefit to other market players or economic stability, ECB board member Fabio Panetta said. The European Central Bank, already EU, is quite happy with the European Commission's legislative proposals for the digital euro. ECB executive board member Fabio Panetta told the European Parliament Committee on Economic and Monetary Affairs in a speech on September 4th that the proposals put Europe at the forefront of advanced economies in central bank digital currency development, potentially the dominance of the financial sector and the ills that implies. So they're basically saying, that's what it looks like, is that, we got too many ways to pay, maybe PayPal's and Monopoly Cash App. We're just going to take this all and turn it into one big thing that's like perfect for everyone.
Will you scroll back up to the top real quick? So private payment services can gain a monopoly with no benefit. Okay. And then the argument for
Is exactly
is that they want the
Literally
monopoly
the
and the
opposite.
government that already has the monopoly.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy.
And what's also interesting is just they're saying it is now up to legislators to ensure it would replicate key characteristics of cash in the digital sphere, particularly its privacy.
Press X to doubt.
You know that meme, It's Afraid, from what was that, Star, I forget the name, but it was one of those like space things, and at the end It's Afraid, and they made a meme out of it. And it's just hilarious to me that they're just nakedly admitting of how afraid they are that the private alternatives could gain a monopoly, because the powers that be see that it could easily upset the apple cart of the financial system if people were to catch on to just how amazing things like Monero actually are.
They're saying the Euro system would be unable to see the personal details of digital Euro users or connect any payment information to private individuals.
Sure, they wouldn't.
Intermediaries would only see the user information needed for onboarding and compliance with existing regulation.
So, in other words, everything.
Right. So somehow it's going to be private, but it's going to be aligned with all the current regulations we have, which requires KYC and all that jazz. So not exactly sure how they're going to do that. Furthermore, but this is interesting. They're saying, furthermore, the possibility to pay offline would provide cash-like privacy with neither the intermediary nor the central bank processing the payment. So they're talking about some kind of like offline bearer instrument type thing that would allow people to transact peer-to-peer in a digital way. I mean, we've seen proposals for this, but this is interesting that they're bringing this
That
up.
is actually kind of interesting.
I guess that, that would kind of have to be like device to device, wouldn't be, a
mesh network.
some kind of thing like that. Yeah, so all the same stuff. They want to introduce CBDCs, but somehow keep it private, and people like us don't trust their intentions.
It's private and anonymous unless you're a bad guy, and then you can get your information.
You can pay with Monero offline easily. Just take one of those, like, those physical Bitcoins that they used to have, like the little things, and you could like load it with like it would load with like 0.1 Bitcoin or whatever, and then as long as the private key was intact, you knew that it hadn't been spent. That's the way to pay with Monero offline. You just make Monero bills kind of like gold back, and have like denominations of 0.1 Monero or 1 Monero or whatever, and then as long as the private key is intact on the bill without being disturbed or whatever, then you can know that it's intact and fine.
Yep, 100%. All right, I guess next story.
Next, we've got some updates to Cake Wallet, and I talked about some of this on the Monero Minute. We now have Monero coin control, which is pretty cool. Obviously not really needed for privacy in Monero, but it's nice that you have that option. You have auto sub address. So every time you receive some transaction on a Monero sub address, Cake Wallet can auto create a new one every time you tap the receive button. And they have some new themes. They have some cool dark themes, a Monero orange theme. Very nice. So update your Cake Wallet if you haven't already. And they have in-app live chat support if you need that. They managed to fit a tiny person inside Cake Wallet. I'm very impressed. Next, we've got this tweet, which is a very large meme. The security budget issue and the Bitcoin laser eyes totally ignoring it or calling it an attack.
Yeah, this is all about people's different reactions in Bitcoin to the 21 mil cap.
Oh, yep. The security hole. Yeah.
Definitely a big topic this week, coming up a lot. What are people thinking about it? What do you guys think about it? Last game now. What do you think? You think there's going to be some kind of action that takes place in Bitcoin to add a tail emission or something? You think that's
one of the things that Bawdy pointed out is, the hash rate power question is. I remember way back like 7 months ago or whatever, which is 900 years in crypto land, people talking about how there might be a security issue in some far away date, when it was like 70,000 was the price of the Bitcoin. And then I remember at Monerotopia, I don't know why I can never remember his name, but the guy that was talking about adding tail emission to Bitcoin, because
Peter Todd.
Yeah, Peter Todd. And he said, we might be looking at needing something like this by 2026, 2027 or whatever. And now here it is where it's already too expensive to mine Bitcoin and be profitable. It's already too expensive to secure the network. and now they're plugging holes with stuff that has literally nothing to do with being digital cash. It's like, oh, we'll have all of these, you know, these what do they call them? I can't even remember the name of it or whatever, but like
Drivechains?
Well, not just the side chain question, but it's where you mint a coin with a transaction that is unique and it, you know, has extra
NFT?
data on it. Ordinals.
Ordinals.
Yeah. So they're literally powering their network with ordinals, which adds another issue of security. It makes another identifiable feature to whatever it is that you're transacting. And we know that even though the transaction rate has stayed relatively close to the same, an ever increasing amount of the transactions on the Bitcoin network are now overtly unique. And that's the selling point, is that they're unique and identifiable. And it's just like, at some point, the delusional nature of these people saying, oh, Bitcoin can be this, has to collapse, because they're literally now minting transactions that are unique and identifiable on purpose to support a collapsing price that doesn't pay the hash rate. It already has failed, and they were saying, oh, it might fail in 20 years, it might fail in 30 years, and it took a halving of the price and ordinals for this to even be something that they talk about now. Meanwhile, all of these other people who are way more humble about the capacity of their pet projects, such as Monero, had been working on solving these problems way in advance and have solutions way in advance. And now we're working with the whole Seraphis thing to solve way future problems in advance as well. I just find it absolutely amazing that so many people still refuse to talk about something that is already a gigantic problem.
What do you think's the likelihood that they try to add a tail emission at some point? Is it a complete non-starter? Will there be some fork? Will there be some tail emission version of Bitcoin?
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right? They've been their sales pitch has always been there will only be 21 million. Their sales pitch has always been our code never changes. Look at all of these other projects that are always changing their code. Their sales pitch has always been the strength and the reliability of the network. And so now anybody who, you know, had their toes in the water or whatever and set such an expectation are going to, it will be a very disenfranchising experience for people who got behind the rallying cry of Bitcoin's immutability and Bitcoin's ability to hold value and Bitcoin's privacy, when they have to admit that they sacrificed privacy, that they sacrificed the fixed coin count in order to protect the network. And, you know, that was one of the reasons why, because I've been watching this for a long time, there was a lot of people that were developers on Bitcoin back in, you know, 2014, 2015, 2016, that they abandoned ship before Monero was the project, and they were looking for something like Monero, and now they are on Monero, and they've already dealt with the ethical question. So the people who didn't are just rapidly losing their ability to even advocate for their favorite coin, you know?
Yeah, they box themselves into a corner. It feels like. The 21 million meme. I mean, the lack of understanding there, the amount of people. It's just such an easy sales pitch, but it's really fooled so many people into thinking that is the value of Bitcoin, is that it's capped at 21 mil, and then for them to then realize that it's not so much what the number is or that it's capped, but that the supply is predictable. There just seems to be a huge disconnect there. Like
that fooled me for a very long time too, where I was like, okay, the supply is capped, so we'll always know how many Bitcoin there are at what time. Right. And I didn't even consider the inflation issue, where like the miners won't be incentivized to mine because there won't be enough transactions on the network to sustain them. It didn't even cross my mind for a long time.
What eventually opened up your mind to it?
The block wars of 2017 when things hit $50 a transaction. I was like, this is ridiculous. Because there's not enough block space, and therefore the fees went way the heck above what you could pay. I mean, paying $50 for a $5 coffee? No, people aren't going to do that.
There's such a huge ethical concern with this too. Honestly, that guy that was on earlier, Michael 10, is pretty well versed in this, but a lot of people don't realize that the strongest argument for the open source crypto community in general is the fact that the unbanked can have just as many rights and privileges and freedoms as the rest of the world. But it hinges on the transaction fees being like really, really, really low, like unnoticeably low, like the way that Bitcoin Cash and Monero do. Because when you're trying to trade value at a very small scale so that you can come up, so that you can eat, so that you can do these things, you know, in the first world, people just think of it like, oh, there was a $3 transaction fee on this Visa and our margins are 40%. We'll just eat the loss or whatever. But in places that have way less economic freedom, you know, even like a 2 or 3 penny transaction fee can sink or swim like whether or not your business is going to be functional. And when these Bitcoin people just keep, oh, well, we have the Lightning Network. It's not like you just open up a Lightning node and everything runs all hunky-dory. Now you've just locked away a massive amount of capital that you might need to run the business. These people who stand on their economic literacy, who are trying to defend Bitcoin, are actually just showing how naked they really are when they say, oh, the solution to high transaction fees is to lock your capital in a black box on somebody else's computer for a decade, you know?
For Metalhead said, what's the live chat for? Chat with whom? I think he's talking about the Cake wallet. That's probably for support for it's just like live support for people who are having trouble with the app.
Is it just Cake? Is it just Cake Wallet that got an update, or is it Monero.com as well? Because I'm using the
sorry, it's Cake and Monero.com.
Okay, because I'm using their F-Droid repository. I added it to my Droidify, and I have not seen an update yet for those two, because I'm using the Monero.com wallet.
Yeah, I think they
I've had a
just
lot
came
of
out,
luck with
so you might have to wait
Monero
for it to get built since they probably have their own build system since I think it's their own F-Droid repository.
Yeah, it is their own F-Droid. Okay.
Yeah, you should get an update for that. But yeah, it should be in a way that's private, because I mean, Cake is, you know, they're for the privacy Monero stuff. But it's like they design it in a way to where it's like the kind of app you would recommend if you're trying to get your mom into crypto. So they want to make it as easy for newcomers to come on, and if they need help, well, they got the live support built in, that's pretty good for new people.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Next, we have very happy to be the first to have a Monero signer after meeting in person with Monero Time. Can't wait to use it to sign offline on Monero transactions. Excellent product and irreproachable top Swiss quality. So Monero Time has been working on this cool offline signer hardware for a little while now, and he made this post earlier this week.
Cool.
That he's finished machining boxes and he's now getting ready for assembly operations. Which is pretty awesome.
How is this thing gonna work? Do we know?
I didn't look into any details.
Okay.
But he has a video of
Yeah, we're hoping maybe he'll jump on next week.
that would be that'd be cool, and then he can actually talk about it and show it off.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Idea being you could sign your Monero transactions with this device that holds your private key on it.
Yeah, basically. And this would be like an offline device. And it's like hardware. But next we have privacy coins will be outlawed and delisted from all exchanges for Europe. It starts now. So I think this is continuing from the ban that happened, was that like a month ago for a few countries? And now it's all of Europe, is my understanding, or all of Europe now. Any country is part of the EU. It is now not allowed to sell these privacy coins on centralized exchanges.
Is that what's actually happening, or is it just Binance that's doing this? I don't think it's right. I don't think we're at that point yet where actually there's.
This one says Belgium specifically.
Yeah, but I think it's just Binance taking action, right? I don't think there's any actual law regulation mandating that privacy coins are, can't be provided on centralized exchanges yet. I don't think so.
I'll have to look into that because I'm not 100% sure either. I saw a few tweets about this, like not just this one, but I didn't really look at it too much. It could be preemptive, like you're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems like it's a sign of things to come. Binance just jumping out ahead. I don't know if anybody has any like more detailed information on that or ideas on where this is actually headed in Europe.
I really wish Bawdy could chime in on an interesting thought experiment about so if all of these people have in fact fractionally reserved XMR, as many of us have theorized, right, and they have to redeem all of this value, if they could use it as cover to redeem that value in a different crypto or even in fiat, now that they've leveraged up all of these holdings and gained as much as they have on both the up and the down, if they would have to pay out XMR in the local fiat at a 1-to-1, and then they could simultaneously suppress the price of XMR long enough for that number to go down and cover their fractional reserve losses. So basically they levered up and then they pushed the price down, and then they did fractional reserve on selling XMR, and now they can get out of the fact that they don't even have it by paying out with the money they gained on the levered purchases. So in other words, I would think that the crypto exchanges would have here he is. I gotta hear it. Come on, man.
Well, before I say anything, I'll just show this article real quick that I found that, yes, I guess I was reading into that tweet too much. Binance continues European clampdown, privacy coins that are listed in Belgium as a response to local regulations. So
yeah, that seems like it would actually add credibility to what I was just saying there. But let's hear it, Bawdy. Come on, you got to have something to...
My working theory at the moment is that I think that the Monero miner that they're trying to sell now, they've been using this for maybe the last year, at least 6 months. And I think that's how they covered their lies at this moment. Binance and Bitmain, they basically created this miner. They mined at a loss so that they could meet their withdrawal demand without looking, like they had fractionally reserved. It's not a good situation, right? It's really not. It seems like they're going to get away with it. So I just feel like that's something that we kind of have to accept at this moment. They were able to suppress the price. They were able to fractionally reserve. And then at the end of the day, they were able to get away with it. But at the same time, we have a lot of organic usage and organic demand. I don't think they're going to be able to cap it like they did in the next bull market. I don't think they're going to be able to cap Monero like they did in the last bull market.
That might be why they're bailing too, because they know that if they kept trying to dump all of this other money into suppressing the price of Monero, they're going to get wrecked. And so this might be why the exit strategy is coming now at a time where you would think that they would want to ride the next price pump. Because if they know that this price suppression is going to be alleviated, you would think that they would want to ride it, unless they're holding a negative balance, in which case they have to get out as fast as they can. So people who have held their Monero would probably be really richly rewarded when all of this takes place over the next, probably it'll take like 8 months for all of this to unwind.
So there's a lot of I think there's a lot of dirty deals happening in the background between the deep state, between Binance. I think that the whole arena is just dirty as fuck. I do think that Tether probably operates with a bit of a nod from the deep state, a tacit nod from the deep state. And I think that Binance, I mean, you've seen the picture of CZ next to Bloomberg, right? So he that was his boss. Like Bloomberg was his boss formerly. So I honestly, like, if I have to be really honest with you guys, I don't see massive price pumps in Monero's future. I think these guys are treading water. They've managed to get just enough Monero to cover their books, to stop appearing, you know, as bad as they looked for all of 2022. I mean, overall, like, we just have to fucking use Monero. We have to create circular economies, kind of on the side, right? Like that's the only thing that's going to win this game over the long term. So we can't depend on Binance. We can't depend on anyone to pump our bags. We have to actually use this thing.
And
before you sell your Monero on these exchanges, hit up the community. There are people
100%.
in the community that I have offered to mail. Well, I'll just leave things alone at there. But there are ways for people to pay you for your Monero in this community that would be more than happy to give you an excellent price on your Monero if you do not use the exchanges.
Never put back into the exchange because you're creating the that attack, that specific
Eve attack.
yeah, Alice Eve attack.
And another thing is that you can't depend on you can't peg Monero to the price of a fiat, because that's just wrong. Like, it's wrong to do. When you find price organically with Monero and you say, okay, I'm going to charge 50 Monero for a cheeseburger, and somebody comes up to you and it's like, no, I don't want to pay 50 Monero for a cheeseburger. I'll pay you 40. And you're like, no, that's a little bit too low, 45. And they're like, okay, that'll work. So you get a price that you're comfortable with. They get a price they're comfortable with. And the price discovery happens in Monero, completely leaving out the old fiat system, and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed a lot on Monero Market and coming to XMR Bazaar, is that you'll be able to price things in Monero, like, itself. And I see this a lot more in Monero Market now, where things are priced directly in Monero. And they're, you know, the price probably starts at what they think it's valued for USD. But depending on the value of Monero, that price will either the USD value go up and down. Which is cool to see people starting to try and make Monero be its own actual currency, not just relying on the USD to price everything.
The way I see it is start a small business and sell something, and then maybe like once a week or something like that, update the price with like the 5-day moving average or something like that. That way you get a decent price, but it's not directly influenced by the movements, the hourly second movements or whatever.
Hey, do we have that tweet where that maximalist was complaining about BISC having Monero on it and not realizing that, like, Monero is 90% of that volume? That was special.
Of people being able to buy Monero on BISC? I didn't see that tweet.
It was some maximalist,
because I know
on
they
Twitter
use
that's like,
Bitcoin for the
He was complaining that BISC is integrating shitcoins. He's like, why do you have this shitcoin Monero on BISC? This should be
what else
exchange.
Use BISC for, if not to trade for?
I mean, it's 90% of the volume is XMR.
Yeah. Bawdy, what do you? I mean, I think you've been asked this numerous times and probably brought it up in your price report. But what do you think is going to be the result of Monero being banned in Europe? Let's say. I mean, we're starting to see it taking place. But if tomorrow we woke up and it's like legitimately banned, there's no way to purchase Monero on any centralized exchanges in Europe. What do you think is the result of that?
Great. street
No,
cred.
I think it's great too, right? We're building the parallel economy outside the system. But what do you think will be the effect on the ecosystem, on the price?
I think we're going to go to court if they actually try to ban Monero. I think we're going to end up going to court at some point, because for all the same reasons that publishing messages is fundamentally allowed, and why Bitcoin is fundamentally legal. It's all the same reasons why Monero is fundamentally legal. So and the government's probably smart enough to only ban it at the exchange at the corporate level, they're probably not going to criminalize it.
Right.
They know that's
let's talk about scenario one, right? So they don't ban Monero per se. They just make it difficult to the point where no exchange wants to deal with the risk of listing Monero, and now Monero is no longer listed on any centralized exchanges. Do you think that?
I used to cry about it, like, no, they're not going to ban Monero. They're not going to take it off the exchange. And now I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it. Take it off the exchange. Like,
Binance needs to drop it already.
I'm going to arbitrage it, and I'm going to sell my Monero to the Europeans and get a higher price for it, because I'll have mined it. So I'll get a higher price for it, and then I'll come back to the US where I can buy some more on the exchanges and buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you see things playing out, guys? Bawdy, like, do you see? Will there be a drop in price? There's always going to be a drop in liquidity, right? I mean, but will there be a drop in price?
Now, Monero has an organic floor on price right now. Like, I'm not saying that we won't go lower. I'm just saying that in general, Monero has had to earn its spot and earn its price every step of the way, because people have been trying to attack that. So our price has a genuine floor. Hypothetically, like, okay, so we talk about the 2017 fork, that the Bcashers airdropped exactly the people that could sell their price down into obscurity. Hypothetically, those same people, if they wanted to, could also sell Bitcoin's price down to Bitcoin Cash current level. Not quite, but close. So Monero has earned its spot and earned its price every step of the way. So if they ban it, it doesn't matter. Like, it's almost irrelevant at this moment.
Right. There's not much speculation.
I mean, all those EU country bans, that didn't really do anything to the price, did it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
far,
we fought all the battles. We had to deal with all that in 2020 and 2021. So we're over it. Like, basically, Monero as a community is over it at this point.
Yeah, it seems to be valued into the price. All right, next story. What do we got here?
This is from you.
Oh, right. This was in reaction to, I don't know if you guys saw this. There was a paper that came out, Blockchain Privacy and Regulatory Compliance Towards a Practical Equilibrium. Vitalik was one of the authors, among others. Basically, they're proposing something similar to Tornado Cash, but done in a way where they're calling them privacy pools. But it's built in a way where the users can essentially comply with local regulations by proving that while they may be mixing their coins in a Tornado Cash-like manner, they're proving that they haven't mixed it with anybody who may be undesirable in the eyes of the government.
Fuck the regulations.
This is so goofy.
Maybe we could come up with like a view key, for example. Like, if somebody had some idea for like a view key and they could implement something like that, we should get the developers on a view key immediately.
Yeah. So what do you guys think of this? I mean, it's being proposed. Obviously, I see it as kind of being guilty until proven innocent, right? Where now everybody has to essentially prove their innocence whenever they're trying to obtain privacy and have to show that they did not, in fact, mix their funds with anybody undesirable. But there's arguments being made, right, that this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It will get more people using a privacy tool. They're revealing, complying, using these zero knowledge proofs. It's not a view key. Some people are arguing maybe it's better than a view key because now you're selectively revealing yourself. What are people's thoughts on this?
Just use Monero.
It's interesting, is it? Yeah, exactly. Let's get back to brass tacks.
Resources going to these super, very subpar projects for privacy. that end up just trying to bootlick to fit into the whole we gotta be compliant, and there were issues with Tornado Cash and how they're running it that got them in trouble. It's not just the privacy part, but it's just like, why?
Yeah, I interviewed somebody this week on this topic. He sees it as, compliance is just completely antithetical to what privacy is intending to be, and I tend to agree with him on that. I don't see how you could have it both ways, right?
And why would you comply with the thugs that are threatening you anyway?
Right, they're potentially one of the criminals we have to worry about, right? So it's why are we creating a tech that then gives them this power?
I feel like mixing is inherently something that tends to bifurcate the network. You'll end up in a situation where there's approved Ethereum and where there's bad Ethereum or Bitcoin, same thing. And it's just inherently not a good idea. Like, you're bifurcating the money in a way that makes it less usable. And I understand that, we want to make tools not able to be used by bad guys, but inherently we really it needs to be neutral. It needs to be fully neutral. And what's happening here, if this thing, ZK is really cool as a technology. I think it's very interesting. The technology that they're releasing here. Nevertheless, it doesn't seem like that's going to go in any good direction. That's not a good thing for the world. That's not a good thing for freedom.
There are just bad people in the world. You cannot stop a bad person from using a technology. A bad person is going to do terrorism financing, whether it be through Monero, whether it be through some sort of privacy Tornado Cash type thing. Somebody could get in a car and run people over. You cannot stop bad people from doing bad things. It's impossible.
Right, I think, and who's going to be the arbiter of who decides what's good and bad, right? That's obvious. That's the ultimate issue here. Is that we're back to square one, where we have the government deciding what's good and bad, creating a scenario where one day what's labeled as a terrorist group might right now be considered just some political entity that has opinions that disagree with the powers that be. But so many years from now, they may be labeled as an extreme terrorist group, to the point where if they're seen using a system like this, that they're they'll be censored, right? I think that's
like the ADF in Germany.
The tool no longer then works as a censorship resistant free speech money tool. It just no longer has.
Don't compromise on your privacy or security. Use Monero.
So interesting.
Break free from the control.
Conveniently, why not just use Monero? Is what the anti-drive chain people have to say over and over.
Yeah, this is interesting. So you got Drivechains being proposed as the way to have quote unquote shit coins on Bitcoin, right? And some people are just saying, you can just, for example, they're saying you'll be able to use something like Monero, right, via Bitcoin through a Drivechain. And the anti-Drivechain people are saying, why not just use Monero, which is pretty funny to see.
I don't fully understand why there's a push for Drivechains. They can already do sovereign rollups in the inscription data. You can already make a sidechain. The only reason why you would have a Drivechain is because they've got this blind merge mining, so you can peg in and peg out of the Drivechain directly connected to the Bitcoin mining verification. But if you're going to shitcoin, do you really care that much about the peg? Do you really need to change Bitcoin's mining ecosystem in potentially unpredictable ways? Just make sovereign rollups in the inscription data and run your sidechain that way. And by the way, if there was any demand for that, it already exist. So Drivechains are never BIP 300 is not going to get approved. It's just there's no consensus for it, and it's a dumb idea anyways. Just use a sovereign rollup in the inscription data.
Now, this guy who's tweeted, what's his name? If you go back, what's his handle? He's the Nostra guy, right? I think he's also the guy that said we need to like kill off Monero, right? Wasn't he saying like we need to he wanted to attack Monero with miners?
Yeah, he recommended that if anyone had funds, that the best thing for Bitcoin would be to attack Monero. And it's kind of funny. He said the silent part out loud.
Right. and now he's seeing those that, because I guess so he's pro Drivechains, I assume, right? And now he's seeing those that are against.
I don't know. I haven't followed
Opposed to Drivechains are saying we don't need them, just use Monero, which is just tearing his soul apart.
Thanks for the free pen testing. We appreciate it.
All right, what else we got here? What is this?
Sorry, my mic was muted. And speaking from trying to ban everybody from doing something is, not going to prevent criminals from doing it. The governor of New Mexico has just declared a First and Second Amendment does not exist due to an emergency. Under this legal theory, all of our rights are essentially eliminated. Watch the most evil and tyrannical 60 seconds you've ever heard. Oh, hold on. I got to do the whole thingamajigger so I can share audio. I got to share the tab specifically. There we go.
Yeah. But your point is valid. You took an oath to the Constitution. Isn't it unconstitutional to say you cannot exercise your carrying license? With one exception.
Can you raise the volume?
That is, if there's an emergency, and I've declared an emergency for a temporary amount of time, I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. There are restrictions on free speech. There are restrictions on my freedoms. In this emergency, this 11-year-old and all these parents who have lost all these children, they deserve my attention to have the debate about whether or not in an emergency we can create a safer environment. Because what about their constitutional rights? I took an oath to uphold those too. And if we ignore this growing problem without being bold, I've said to every other New Mexican, your rights are subrogated to theirs. And they are not, in my view. Wait a minute, you're talking about crimes. There are already laws against crimes, so how are their rights? I got it, but again, if I'm unsafe.
This woman doesn't know what the Constitution is.
Up for that right.
Absolutely insufferable.
So
even saying about, I got to protect the children's constitutional rights too, in terms of like, we need to ban guns. Safety is not a constitution. Safety from the government is not constitutional.
So all we have to do to have a nice dictatorship is ban or declare an emergency that says that you can't have freedom of speech and can't have freedom of firearms, and then have elect a dictator and no one can do anything about it.
Hey, I mean, the federal government was trying to do that with, COVID.
She even has the Karen haircut and the rat face. Like, you could not be a more living meme of like the "Can I see your manager" lady. And she's got like the two thug people next to her. Like, and even the guy in the badge is just like, I can't believe she just said this out loud.
Basically,
the guy on the left, he's sitting there. He's like, what the fuck did she just say? Oh my God. Like, you can just see it in his face.
Hold on, let me pull up another tweet if I can find it. Context to that is that they basically did a like an emergency act and banned public carrying, open and concealed carry of firearms, which is like insane. I'm trying to find the other tweet because
this story really plays into what we were just talking about too, with trying to create a compliance-friendly, privacy coin or privacy tech, right? Because the problem is you're going to have some government entity change the rules on you for the purposes of "quote unquote" the greater good, where they're just going to adjust things at will, and now you're being forced to comply to some new rule that helps the government and hinders some certain subset of people. I mean,
what is that necklace she's wearing?
But they're doing it for the greater good. They're doing it to help the kids, like she's saying, right? Like she's doing it to protect the children's rights. And
Zoom in on that necklace.
in
Real
those
quick.
instances, we can tear up the Constitution.
I saw a really cool graphic the other day that showed the right to carry a firearm in various states over the course of time, for like the last 50 years. And it's the trend is obvious. It's very clear. All states, or for the most part, most states are enshrining your right to protect yourself, to carry a firearm open and closed without a license. I mean, it's like, are you allowed to learn karate? You know, it's the same kind of question. You have the right to defend yourself, and particularly and especially, we need to defend ourselves from the government. They're the worst. They're the worst gang. They're the worst criminals. The only reason why we even still have freedom, I think, is because the United States has enshrined the right for the people to be armed. Without that, they wouldn't have stopped with COVID. They would have done anything and everything that you think they wanted to do. It's only because we have guns that these people are not dominating us right now.
Yeah, so they suspended Second Amendment. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Willpower.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on, and I'm loving the conversations, and I'm learning a lot from you guys.
My son wants to say hi real quick. Hold on. He loves your music. Go ahead, David. Say hi.
Hi.
This kid
Hey, what's
listens
up?
to your stuff all the time. He loves you. Go ahead.
Oh
There he
man,
is.
love you too, man. Peace.
Say bye, Willpower.
All right, Willpower. Thanks for jumping on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Much
Where
love.
can
Keep going.
people just throw out some information where people can find the new album, all that, anything you want to put out there?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, go to willpowerstudios.com, willpowerstudios.com, and you'll find everything you need right there. And if you want to support with the Bandcamp, it's willpower-music.com, and you'll see my Monero XMR address also on the website if you want to support that way. So yeah, bang the music, share it with the world, and listen to it and see if you like it. Thanks a lot.
And pay
Good
me
stuff,
in
man. Thanks
Monero.
for coming on.
And pay me in Monero. Yeah.
Nice, man. All right, have a good one. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks. Cheers.
The funniest part of this whole thing, you know that the goons sitting next to her are like totally armed, like completely armed.
I wonder if these people realize just how vulnerable they would be if all the people that protect them just decided to stop. Like, these people are so upset about guns, and yet all their aides have guns. Their bodyguards have guns. Everybody around them has guns. Imagine just if all these people just decided, you know what, the heck with it, I'm not guarding this person.
If the cops would actually uphold the Constitution, then they would, she should probably be arrested. Well, definitely be arrested, but of course they don't either. And she's certainly not. Nobody
It
does.
wasn't that long ago that a statement like that would have been considered treason, and that's a high crime.
Oh, what she's saying? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see what happens with that. I think we have got one more. Oh, yes, this is pretty cool. To end on a happier note, Coin Cards released their volume breakdown for August of 2023, and XMR is all the way up to 35%, just clipping the 36.5 or 36.72% of Bitcoin. This is global, by the way. They stopped doing the per country breakdown, unfortunately, because I guess it was a lot for them to do. But Monero has shot up like over 3% for coin cards globally. And
It went from
right next
31 to
Bitcoin.
35. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then before that, it was like 23. So it's gained traction. I bet some of that was due to CakePay, unfortunately, shutting down, which CakePay is back up now for the web version. You can't do the mobile version. You have to sign up for a waitlist. They haven't fully opened it yet. But yeah, Monero usage is quite high on coin cards.
Remember when Dash used to be like a huge, like actually used currency, and it would have been way higher on this chart, and now it's like below 1%.
Guys, use Lightning Network.
It's
Use
their
Lightning.
Instamine.
They really
um,
shot themselves in the foot when they said they're not a privacy coin anymore. Like, that
Oh,
was-
Dash.
even though
Oh,
they
'cause
never were, but when they finally are like, we just
'Cause-
let everybody know, please don't
They
delist
somehow
them.
managed to get the worst of all positions. in
Yeah.
the way they
Government
handled
starts
that.
stamping their boot a little bit. Oh, we're a privacy good no.
Hey, can we give a shout out here to Lightning Network at 1.29%?
Bro, that's what I'm saying, man.
All the
1.29%.
adoption.
Dude, they were higher before.
They'll get to those bugs in like 9 or 10 years, guys. We promise.
Wow,
Yep.
that's
Hashtag.
really high usage on that Lightning Network.
It was hashtag
I mean-
18 months, but I think they're having to go like hashtag 1 decade to.
Is that how little
Get that
people
claim to
use
work.
Lightning? Because like I've actually never used Lightning myself. I've never been interested in it. I want to check it out just so I understand how it works at some point. But like, is this realistic? Like, do people really just not use Lightning, and people actually like just mostly use on-chain Bitcoin if you're using Bitcoin? 'Cause
Well, I
the
mean,
fees-
think about what Lightning actually is. Like, I don't know if you'll ever want to use it just to
You have to
try it,
onboard
even
to it.
because it's.
Yes.
Well, and
If-
another thing
If
is it
Bitcoin would
seems
just raise the block size, I'd onboard to Lightning. I really would. The numbers don't work out right now, but if they just raise the block size to say 4 megabytes, those numbers could work. And even though
I
it's
think-
problematic and it's not ideal, I would still get onto Lightning because I think it's better than, fiat, obviously.
Peter Todd forced me to use it to pay him for Monerotopia for his reimbursement, and it was a freaking pain in the ass because I had to onboard to it.
and you had to do
Sparrow
set a
wallet.
bunch of stuff up, right?
Yeah,
Set
and
the connection and
well,
seems-
downloading Sparrow Wallet, whatever, wasn't too bad, but I ended up paying like $7 in fees just to send my Bitcoin initially into Lightning, right? And then the Lightning fee itself was more than the Monero fee at the time. So I was like, what?
Why would
I'm like,
you just use fixed float? You could send him Lightning via fixed float. You never have to create a Lightning channel.
yeah, I think there were
He
people
wa-
that
he
were
wanted
yelling
me
at
to
you for
use-
that, which is
wanted me
hilarious
to use
because
Monero.
that's not proving that Lightning is good or anything. You're like, oh, you put this conversion thing, blah blah blah. It's
yeah, my
like,
experience was like,
you used it legit, and it was terrible.
like just accept Monero, man. What- my experience-
Yeah.
I'm impressed how many people do still use Bitcoin on chain though, because like you're just eating fees, man.
To be fair though, how easy is it to get on board with Lightning Network? Because I was looking at it and I'm like, I'm used to like Polygon and Ethereum where like they're different tokens, where Ethereum is one token and Polygon is a different token on a side chain. But with Bitcoin and Bitcoin Lightning all use the same addresses and they don't have any difference in the wallet from what I can tell. So it's really complicated to even get into Lightning for somebody who doesn't quite understand it.
yeah.
I was working and I had a pickup at a Costco, and a guy saw my Monero shirt and he's like, "Let me get some." He opens his wallet. He has $2 in cash. He's like, "I want to buy some Monero right now." And I was like, "This is Monero.com wallet. Download it." He downloads it. Takes like not even 2 minutes. And I was like, "All right, now send me, write down all of these words." He writes down all the words. I was like, "All right, give me that cash." And then, but he turns around and he's like, "Okay, what do I do?" I was like, "Let me just scan that QR code and you're paid." He's like, "That's it? How much did it cost me?" "Less than a penny." This is great. Like that's the entire onboard process every time. Just like, a couple minutes of downloading a wallet and that's it. Now compare that to all of the different versions of using the Lightning Network and making sure on the other side a person can even collect the money on the Lightning Network. And then it's so antithetical to the general way that open source software should work that
And like-
I can't do it, man.
Guys, just
And, like,
use
how-
Wallet of Satoshi.
And like, how are you supposed to know if somebody's even on the Lightning Network? Because the coin addresses for main chain and the coin addresses for Lightning are the same from what I understand. So if I send you a Lightning payment and you're not on the Lightning Network, what the heck happens to the coins?
Well, I thought they. Bawdy, you want to say something on that? I thought.
Sure. So like to be technical about that, in order to receive a payment from Lightning, you have to generate a pre-image, and like basically you have to generate the transaction as the receiver, and then send that to the person that would send you funds. So yeah, there's no way to actually like donate or send you funds unless you're actually online, because it's a dynamic process,
Okay.
which is why Monero is just it's great. Monero is
That's
wonderful
actually
for
retarded. Why
donations
do
and
people
for
even use
receiving
that?
money.
That was another part of the experience with Peter Todd. He sent me an invoice to get paid, and then the invoice expired because I took a couple, walked away from it. I was doing other stuff, and I'm like, all right, finally, let me go do this Lightning thing. And I go to pay it, and the invoice was expired. He had to send me another invoice. I was like, well, are you kidding me?
Friction.
Like, bro, just send me your Monero address.
I
And I
could
mean,
have just sent you
I'm-
Monero.
The other guys, like, I don't know enough about Lightning to just like
That was after paying
TikTok
$8
it
in
or
fees.
whatever. But like when initially looking into it, I'm like, oh, yeah, Lightning's got a lot of like people are trying to build a lot of stuff on it, whatever. It was like kind of just like a mind fuck in a way. There was like just so much to choose from in terms of wallets, and like the setup looked like I had to do so much work just to set up the ability to send people money and receive stuff myself. I'm like, I don't feel like doing that right now. And with Monero, it's just I just send you the coin and you get it. You don't have to be online. I don't have to create a connection with you. I don't have to start any of this stuff. It just works. It's like,
Yep, you've got my sub address. You can send
When
me
do you
money
guys
anytime.
think coin cards, Monero takes the top spot here and like becomes
next month
Yeah. Wow.
Yesterday.
or this month.
And I think
technically.
eventually, I think, we're going to see it at like, 80%. I don't see why not. It would be cool if coin cards, right? Because if you're there and you're buying a gift card with crypto, I mean, you just have to be a moron just not to use Monero. Like you just get extra benefits from it, unless you're just stuck with your Bitcoin and you don't really know how to obtain Monero with it. I don't really know why. It'd be cool if coin cards built in a way to purchase, kind of auto swap during your purchase, so you can purchase effectively with Monero no matter what coin you're using. Right? Wouldn't that be kind of a cool thing?
It's coincards.com, right? Yes.
Like, so even those that are using Bitcoin or Ethereum on the spot to make their purchase, you could, for an small extra fee, have the payment be swapped into Monero and then made with Monero.
Why would you do that though?
So at least you're getting the obscurity of, you're
For
getting
people that have a lot of Bitcoin and they want to spend it. Yeah.
right.
I don't think
So
anyone here would do that, but
Yeah, no, not
One thing I
for people
noticed-
that are already natively using Monero, but for those, like, if you're gonna go spend your
there
Bitcoin,
it is. The
on a
Home
gift
Depot gift card.
if you had the option of auto swapping it into Monero without KYC on the spot, why wouldn't you do that? Right?
Applicable convenience fee.
Yeah.
That's just the card fee, right? Shortwave Surfer? Because I think you said you use this, right?
I've used CoinsB, but I've looked at coin cards, and what it is it's like a 2.5% to 5% fee depending on the card.
Yeah, I remember when we had
to
the
actually
CEO, I
to
forgot
get
his
the
name,
company
just
to make
came
money.
on.
Because the company's got to make money some way, so
Of
that's how
course,
they do
of
it.
course. Yeah, no, that's not bad.
So if you get like a $500 card, you end up paying like $510 for it or something like that. That's not too bad.
Yeah, no, it's not bad at all.
The common theme that I see pop up is that where Monero is offered alongside other cryptocurrencies, it usually rises to the top. Like people tend to use Monero quite a lot, which is interesting. When you look at the relative market caps of the different coins, you say, hey, why doesn't the market cap quite reflect what appears to be the usage of Monero, again, when it's offered alongside other options?
I'm gonna reach out to coin cards. Tell them they should add a instant exchanger. I think you'd see people using it. I mean, if you're gonna go buy a gift card with crypto, I'm assuming you if you can, you'd want to ideally purchase it as anonymously as possible, right?
Yeah, I need to actually try buying something from them and see how the experience is. And it looks like it's pretty good because I know we had the I keep forgetting his name, the CEO of Coin Cards. We had him on a while ago.
Yeah, I've used it a bunch. We've used it a bunch of times.
I'd use CakePay like a ton. Like for the mobile, I'm using CakePay mobile, super cool. I could go to the theaters with friends, and I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna pay this with my crypto, and I just buy the gift card right there and scan it and it works. It's like kind of magical. So it's sad that that's not a thing anymore. It might be coming back in the future, but yeah, I'm glad there's still people like coin cards that are have a lot of options to choose from.
Yeah, same.
All right, guys. I think that was all the news. Any final thoughts? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up.
Yes, I have a final thought.
Go for it.
Please post your stuff on Monero.town because I've had to do it for 3 weeks in a row.
Okay. The post what stuff? Monero, Monerotopia, Monero Talk stuff?
Yeah, your Monerotopia and Monero Talk, like I had to go to Reddit and copy Sunita's post and then paste it into Monero.town for 3 weeks.
Oh,
Appreciate that. Yeah, well, I think we created an account. I saw somebody created one, so I think we should start doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
if you give me the credentials, I can do it.
Doug
What I
needs like
did,
5 more secretaries just to keep up with all of his nonsense, right?
It's a lot of stuff, guys. It adds up. It really does. Anybody else got anything? All right, I'll take that as a no. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Once again, we do these shows every week, same time, Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Please join us next week. Thank you, everybody.
Peace.
Thanks for coming
Cheers.
on, guys.
Good times.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the